Share my screen. This is what we went over last week. Detailed market
I'm so glad
analysis.
you didn't record what I stated earlier.
No. I figured the introductions didn't quite need to be recorded for everyone to get reintroduced over and over and over again. So detailed market analysis, basically, I don't know if you guys had a chance to go over this, even if you just have a little bit. I kind of want you to just review, go over, what are some key assets, what's some employment information, economics, all the stuff that was on here. And all this is in the Google Drive as well, John. So you go back and look at that. But for anyone that has done it or has done at least partial of it, we're basically, you're, I guess, going to share your screen or not, whichever way you want to do it, and give us your best pitch on why you think that market is the best market. Who wants to start?
I can.
Luke, what do you got? Even though I thought your market was crap, but let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's what I wanted to share, is that I did my market analysis on what I thought would be a good market, and then realized, so tell you what, all of the factors are good, besides two things. One is it's a college town, so 26% of the population live below the poverty line. And I just had a thought, like, those will probably be my renters, and that would suck. And so that would mean that there's a ton of turnover, lots of people that are stressed out about rent, that maybe can't pay rent, and I just didn't want to. Yeah, so I'm looking at other cities in the area. I know the good things about Provo, the city that I was looking at, is that it's part of Utah Valley, and Utah Valley is doing really well, and Salt Lake Valley is also doing really well. So Provo is probably not the city I want to invest in, but I know that there's other cities. So I'm going to look at a few more tonight or tomorrow is the goal to do that, find a better option.
So Luke, when you were looking at Provo,
other thing that I noticed that was not so good was because it's a college town, again, like 23% of all people employed are professors or teaching. So I don't think the schools are going to go away, but if something like COVID were to happen again, where education became like obsolete overnight for a little bit, that wouldn't be good. But besides that, tech sector is booming. There's a ton of opportunity here, and all the indicators for growth, it was like it needs to have at least 20%, and they were like 48%, 60 something percent, like 300% in some of those categories. And I was like, yeah, there's a ton of people here, and it's just growing. So we're in a good area, just not the right city. It's kind of what I mean.
So Luke, when you were doing that research, were you able to actually look at any rent rolls or detailed financials of any particular multifamily assets in the surrounding, like, zip code or whatever you were targeting?
Could you say that again?
I was wondering if you had a chance to look at any of, like, specific property financials in that market, really targeting what the occupancy and vacancy levels looked like, where the current rent is, things like that. Because you can look at the market, right? And that's what we're doing. We're looking at the market on both the macro and the micro level. But then outside of that, when you're actually looking deal specific, you're looking at a variety of factors. So if the poverty level, would you say it was 20, you had it at 26%? And if everything else meets the criteria, basically, and the only thing is that the poverty level is 26%, then I guess you would need to dive deeper into affordability in the area. So when you're looking at a particular asset and the asset says, or the financials say, that it's currently getting $800 a month in rent, and you believe, or the broker tells you, that you can get about $1,000 a month in rent. So you input all your financials, you do your analysis, analyze the deal, and then find out that the financials make sense if you can get to $1,000 a month in rent. So then you would look at other comps to see if they're even achieving $1,000 a month in rent. And if they are, great. Then you can even go a step further and say, what's the actual affordability of the area? Is where I expect to take this, like in the next 3 years, let's say I've got a 3-year trajectory to go from 800 to $1,000 a month in rent. In year 3, will the affordability, if your qualification is 3x the monthly income, are they going to be making enough to afford $3,000 a month? Are they going to be making $3,000 a month to afford $1,000 a month rent in this particular area? That would help you get an understanding specifically as far as the poverty levels go. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. I was looking at property in Pocatello where I did that kind of thing, but not in Utah. So I'll look at specific deals now.
Yeah.
I think the other way I've seen this solved for is, for college housing is to have a guarantor, on all the leases, because college kids are going to be below the poverty line, but they might have extra student loans to pay for housing, mom and dad. Typically, I don't know what school it is, but they're going to have some sort of backing that won't be counted towards their taxable income for census data purposes, but they may certainly have the means or support system to support that rent.
Yeah, that's another great thing I've seen about student housing in particular is sometimes the parents are the guarantors. So of course it's not as concrete as if you had some kind of government subsidized housing, but having the parents be like, yeah, I'll freaking pay for it if they don't, or they're probably going to pay for it anyway, right? They may not be guarantors, but at the end of the day, they're probably giving their kids the money to actually pay for it. So yeah, anyway. Well, cool. So you're not going to do Provo. So what did you say you were going to do next? What's your new target?
For the comments here.
I'm good. We can move on to someone else.
Okay. All right. Who's next? Who wants to go next?
I can just jump in and say, a few quick words. I didn't finish one entirely. I kept getting hung up on certain aspects that, were kind of deal breakers. Being in New York, I couldn't really, pick somewhere particularly close to target, but within about a 2-hour drive is Allentown, which is a larger community in Pennsylvania. And, I looked at that. I looked at, the job markets, the median rents, everything like that. The biggest hang up was the crime report and crime statistics. It was much higher than the state average, and that kind of scared me away from that. So I started scrapping everything, kind of just jumping around from different markets. I ended up looking at some Indiana markets, Fort Wayne specifically, and I noticed that they had, really good job market. Some really big companies are based out of there. There's a university that just opened 5 years ago, Purdue University, Fort Wayne, and that's kind of where I'm set right now. It's the second biggest market in Indiana itself. I don't know much about the rents right now. I know that the median household and median cost for houses has actually gone up, kind of hit those quotas that we were looking for based on the 12 principles. So I'd say I'm pretty early in the research aspect, but that's kind of where it's led me to, trying to focus on certain things and understand that not everything's gonna be perfect. So, hopefully I'll have a proper market study by the next session we have, and maybe I'll be able to share more then. But
Okay.
kind of on that right now.
You said it's like 2 hours away, the Pennsylvania spot.
Pennsylvania, yeah. So it's Bethlehem, Allentown are two major cities kind of that border each other. I guess about an hour north of Philadelphia, or within an hour of Philadelphia. Also a pretty large market. But the crime there was, I think, 3 times the state average. So I don't know, that kind of steered me away real quick. I wasn't sure if that would be a huge deal breaker. I considered, overlooking that and underwriting everything else, and seeing if it made sense. But I don't know, just for the first few properties I picked, I decided to try to find something that made a little bit more sense for every character, every category. Sorry. So.
Right. The crime is very zip code specific.
Right.
Hey,
typically-
Have you heard of Bryce Stewart? Does that name ring a bell?
No.
So he invests in the Allentown area. He's written a book called The House Hacker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Okay.
It's an awesome book. It's like 100 pages long. It's super easy read. He was a teacher, started at like 28, investing in houses, and was able to retire in like 6 years. But that his market is Allentown. He's on Bigger Pockets twice, I think episode 242 and like 400 something.
Okay.
The guy's awesome. He's got such a cool story, makes it so simple, but that's his primary market. So,
What's his book again?
House Hacker's Guide to the Galaxy. And I'll
Sweet.
tell you what, the first person to send me their home address, I'll just mail them my copy as a welcome to the mastermind
All right.
gift. All right.
Boom. Look at you, John, adding tons of value already. I'm loving it.
Yeah.
All right. Who's next? Michael, Deshaun, who wants to go?
So what I have so far was with the Richmond market. Let me get my let me just a second. Actually, you know what? That's my investment. You know, I did an investment criteria, and I think Josh, you and I have we've gone over that. As far as some of the demographics, I have not gone into them this week, being that it's been a one hell of a week. So next session I should have everything else. I thought I had totally had it, but it comes out to be my investment criteria and not necessarily my my market analysis. So I apologize.
And which market? You said you were picking a market in Virginia?
Yeah, I'm gonna take your advice and just stick with like my backyard for right now. Central Virginia area. Northern Virginia is it's like how what's the name said about with New York and so with Northern Virginia, like your McLean, your McLean, Herndon, those areas. I mean, it's ridiculous. And as you go into DC and Maryland, you know, prices are just ridiculous. So Central Virginia is more of long, I guess it goes along with, you know, reality in terms of the way the market has been down here. There are a lot of people who do a lot of single family housing around here. I mean, it's very active around here in terms of that's concerned. So let me do some more digging and I will share with that on Thursday.
All right. Michael, do you have a chance to get anything?
I don't have anything super polished. I'm looking at Tyler, Texas. I think on all of the major points we went over, it meets, and everything I've found so far indicates it's looking good. It's growing. It has good job growth and all those metrics. It's not growing quite as crazy as a lot of the other Texas markets. So I think it might be a good place to look for me in the tertiary sector to try to get, you know, to cut my teeth, so to speak. But Tyler itself is about 100,000. The MSA is 233,000. There's a lot of healthcare there. The University of Texas at Tyler is opening a medical school there, so there's going to be a lot of growth there. And there's some other technology. There's Train Technologies is going to build a new data center, so there's some diversity and growth here. And that's about 90 miles from me.
Okay. So you didn't have anything laid out, just kind of some high level analytics that you've researched?
Well, I've been taking a lot of notes. My boss is on vacation, so I'm working for his dream.
Okay. So you've been busy the last week is what you're saying. Working
Yeah.
for his dream. Okay.
Can I just kind of back up and so is everybody? I don't know. Everybody's investing goals here. Is everybody kind of looking for that B and C class apartment building, or what kind of syndications you guys looking to get into? I'm just assuming based on some of the market presentations I've seen so far that that might be the path, but
Yeah,
Yeah,
what do you-
I would say, my goal is definitely to find something that has a value add element, but has, a good track record of high occupancy in a market, that's growing and has potential. So, yeah, BC is really my my focus. A class is probably too much of just a park your money and hope it just performs properly. So not for me, not yet.
I was just curious, just, making sure we're all, not that we all need to have the same goals, just trying to figure out, obviously the market analysis is going to be different if somebody's trying to do self-storage or B class or A class or whatever, right? You're going to look for different industries. So
So everyone has a general idea of what they're looking for, right? When they're looking into these markets from the previously, what we've gone over and the example of what I had done as far as what to put together. Right? Well, John, you can go back and look. You guys have just all been busy, I take it? Busy bees, man. Gotta get out of this day job. We gotta get
yeah, you
y'all
guys got
out.
to get laid off. It's awesome. Plenty of time to do this stuff.
Um, okay, well, I'll just do a review then of the thing that I had gone over for you to take a look at, John, and anyone else that may have missed it or needs a quick refresher.
Thank you.
So part two, part one was basically a detailed analysis of the different key metrics that we're going over, which is make sure it has a diversified job market from various industries, landlord-friendly state, job growth at least 1% to 2%, unemployment rate percentage can't be more than 2 points above the national average, population seen 20% growth since 2000, median income level seen 30% growth since 2000. Now, what we have here is median income between 35 to 75,000, but due to inflation, it's probably going to be closer to 45 to 85 or whatever that may look like in your particular area now that prices, wages, and everything else have started inflating. Median house value seen 40% growth. That's almost guaranteed in every market. It seems like crime below 500 ratings decreased in the last 10 to 15 years. Poverty levels can't be over 20%, which is what we were talking about with Luke. Population over 50,000 and good local school ratings. And then we dove into what all that looked like, which you can go back and look at. So part two was basically, hey, okay, now that we have everything that we're looking to get, now that we have all the key metrics that we're looking to achieve, we need to pick which target market we're looking to target. And we're only going to be targeting just one singular market. I know a lot of you might have a bunch of ideas and options, and you got this, and this that sound like they're going to be great areas. But I really feel like if we just focus on one market at a time and try to get the first deal, the second deal, try to just grow the company, start the company really in just one market, then we'll be able to be really focused, really niched. And I think we'll have a much greater chance of success, right, over the next 12 months. So this was just an overview of what one looked like that I put together back in Q1 of 2020 for my target market, which is Mobile, Alabama. And this is just kind of the layout of how I did it, right? Top 5 key assets. Then we went into some employment information. Then we went into economic specifics in the business sector and the retail sector and the transit oriented mixed use development. Went over some education information. And then lastly, some just miscellaneous things that I felt like we're going to add value to the comprehension and understanding of the target market, not only for myself to write it down and get it just really ingrained in my brain, but also this is something you can send out when you start putting pitch decks together and things like that for your investors. And you're starting to explain your market and why the particular deal might be good. Of course, you're explaining the deal specifically, but then also the market. So this is something very easy you can add into the pitch deck or take bits and pieces to throw in there that will, because you'll already have it done. So it'll just make it much more simple at that point. So third largest city in Alabama with an unemployment rate of 4%. Of course, it's back in 2020, compared with 3.6% for the U.S. Second largest metro in Alabama with a population over 500,000 when including Baldwin County, of which over 40,000 individuals commute from for work, because Alabama Mobile specifically is like split in two. There's a bay right in between us, and east and the west, but they're both still qualified as the Mobile MSA. 7.5 miles from downtown's University of South Alabama. Employs 5,000 people, has over 15,000 students, 2,200 residing on campus. And then sometimes, right, this creates a large permanent class of renters in the area. So sometimes when you're explaining these things, you don't just want to give like an analysis. You don't just want to be like, hey, here's this, 2,200 students, 15,000 students, whatever. You want to specifically explain why that's good. Creates a large permanent class of renters in the area, because some people, they can put two and two together, but I mean, the simplest way that you can make things, right? It's a confused mind says no. Specifically, if you're looking to target this towards pitch decks, investors, and things like that, the most detailed and concise you can make it, the easier it's going to be for you to pitch this to an investor. 45 minutes for the number one best beach in Florida, and we're ranked 7th in the U.S. for least stressful city and 25th as the best city in the U.S. for millennials to live. And I won't go into the rest of the stuff, but then just some overall employment information of different companies, economic information specific to the business corporate sector, construction of new Airbus. We talked about Austal, Walmart distribution, then retail. So different retail things, mixed use. There's Mobile Bay Bridge project they were scheduled to start, Battle House Tower, different things like that. Then the education information is what we talked about previous with the South Alabama, Spring Hill, University of Mobile, Fortis, Remington College, because one of the things was want to make sure that there's good local school ratings. And that's usually tailored more to the middle school, high school level, but more often than not, when you're targeting renters specifically, you're going to be targeting college and above. So that's why we focus the educational information a little bit more specific to the college level. And then miscellaneous. So it really didn't fall into any of these categories, but it was things like, hey, 55% of residents own their home with no signs of major increase. Mobile is home to Mardi Gras, which brings in $250 million. We've got the only cancer research center, low cost of living, and no one industry takes over more than 18% of the job pool. So once you're able to put that together, then what we're going to go over to, I'm going to say tomorrow. What's up? Do you have any questions?
Can I pause there? Sorry. That was some awesome information. Looks like, some really detailed stuff. Where are you pulling this stuff from? Is that the Chamber of Commerce website for the city you chose, or you got any tips there and where I can search for some of that stuff when I pick my target?
Yeah, good question. I think Philip asked that question last time, and basically I just started Googling things.
Okay.
So I would just be like, hey, this particular market, what's the population? What's the MSA look like? What's the job growth? What are the school ratings? What's the crime? And sometimes you'll find one link, one website that has literally all the data. And then of course, when you see all this data in this one website, unless it's like a .gov website, I would go and try to find another reference point at another website so that you at least have 2 reference points confirming that data is correct. And you're not just pulling data from thin air on a website that could be like Wiki, and just random folks are just typing random things in there and you're saying that it's statistical when it's not. So finding at least 2 data points, unless it's a .gov, because then it's guaranteed to be, well, I guess not, the government lies all the time, but you know what I'm saying. Finding at least 2 data points is just helpful, not only for you, but of course also the investors. Make sure that you understand what you're saying, because just as much as research as you do on the market, when you go to start raising money for investors, if they really cared, most of them don't, to be honest, but if they really cared, they could go and they could do their own research and be like, this guy's bogus. I'm finding complete opposite statistics to what he's telling me. So yeah, making sure you know what you're saying. Did anyone else have any other questions before we move on? No? All right, sweet. Doing a great job. So what we're going to talk about, was it Thursday? Let's double check the calendar. What we're going to talk about on Thursday is we're going to go over a specific market report of Montgomery, Alabama. I know that's random, and none of you are actually interested in Montgomery. But the reason we're going to go over it is because it's a deal that I actually acquired last year. And so I obviously have all the data, all the information, did all the pitch decks, did literally everything on this deal as we were progressing to closing, doing all the due diligence, then ultimately closing. And so I want you guys, this is going to help us understand. We're going to kind of go over how to actually review some of these market reports. We're going to review what to kind of look for when you're in there. It's like 112 pages. It's a lot. We're not going to go over every page, but go over just the report in general. Then we're going to go over what else are we going to go over? There was I don't remember, but I'll remember on Thursday. We're going over the market data and market analytics specifically to Montgomery, Alabama. And then even more specifically to the property that we're targeting. I think I'm going to include like the rent roll to the property or something like that. So that you basically, once we go over that, review that, and you guys see kind of how to run that and what to look at, then over the next week, because that'll be Thursday, which is the 30th, and then July 4th. So you start the